Welcome back everybody to today's digitizing video. It is midnight right now. It's nice and quiet. It's cool here in the workspace. So it's the perfect time and temperature to talk digitizing. We're going to be looking at two images of the same design and we're going to be digitizing beginning to end, going over what I think looks best, making some tweaks to the design, and just overall talk about H.B.I, which is the software that I use, and its basic functions, more specifically tatami fills and satins, which is just about what all designs are made of. So this video is pretty much for anybody just interested in digitizing the basics of it, or Hatch if you're looking into a software. Before Hatch, I had Embroidery. These are the only two softwares that I ever tried out. Embroidery I didn't like so much. I kind of gave up on it real quick, and I got H.B.I for I think what it was, $1,200 at the time, around there. Paid it off, payments of $100, so it's not too bad over time. I also wanted to say I'm not great at making videos. When I look back at them, I'm like, I forgot to say so many things, or why did I say this, or why didn't I say this? So I like it when you guys also ask questions in the comments. I feel like I'm able to elaborate even more typing out a response than sometimes I can in these videos, because it's hard to like focus. Really, it doesn't come natural to me to do great videos or say everything that I need to say and speak clearly. So I do encourage you guys, if you do have any questions, no matter the type, if it's simple or not, I will answer them most likely better in the comments. And that's about it. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. Let's get into it. So the images that we have here, this is actually a hat that Tanya's dad took of his own hat, which he likes to wear, but he wants it to say Nayarit instead of Salinas down here. So that's pretty much what he wants us to do. He's like, oh, can you guys remake it? Because he likes it. But instead I want to say this. No problem. The image is not that great. You always get curved when you take a picture of the actual hat. So we actually found the image that it was based off of right here. And you can see right away, they look very different. I understand why. Obviously, all these little holes are very tough to do. They did a simplified version of it. So I'm hoping that we could do it a little bit better than his, because that's what you got to do. So I'm thinking we might do two different versions of it, depending how we digitize them, and see which one looks better. So as I mentioned, we're pretty much just going to be using tatami fills for these large areas, and I'm thinking maybe throwing in some satins for these smaller parts of the design. It might not need it. We'll see. If we try to go for this one, we'll definitely be using some satins in here for these small parts. If I do want to include these little accents, instead of pretty much making a hole, I'm gonna fill them up this way with white on top of it or below. We'll see, because making holes these small, sometimes it doesn't really work out. So, but anyways, let's get to it. We'll leave the words until after. For now, let's go ahead and digitize a closed shape tatami fills, and I am just gonna do these two large areas, mainly the pants, and then we'll go back in there and fill in some of those white spots that are throughout the design. We will do two different designs, one with these areas filled in with white, and then one with the holes digitized into the design. Usually when I'm digitizing these closed shapes, I leave like whatever is the default settings on it when it comes to density, pull compensation, underlay. I usually keep the stuff unless I'm finding issues once it's stitching out. Most of the time it works out fine, unless you know, like maybe you're working with like small text, so off the bat you're gonna know that you might be running into some issues. So I'll finish off these shapes here. Okay, here we have that basic shape. As you can see, it doesn't look that great when it's all just tatami fill, especially in these tight areas. Still might go through with it. Most likely I will, and then see how that comes out. But if I were to have any issues where it just looks horrible, then I would go in there, pretty much take these off, and then do satin stitches underneath. But let's continue. It was pretty much a whole giant piece, so not much to do. We do have to add these here with the whites. Before that though, let's see how these small little areas would look if we just digitize the holes. Yeah, pretty much non-existent unless we were to make them much bigger. That's why they just decided not to do that many. So I'm kind of torn because I also don't want to show it to him and then he'll be like, this is not how it looks. But if anything, I could just keep it the way that he is and he wouldn't know. So for now, let's go ahead and digitize everything with white. The large areas like this one here, I could still do with the regular fill. It could pretty much be either one, it's just preference. But this is a weird shape and it's pretty large, so let's go ahead and do that. Change it to white. Any other large areas? Same here with the chest. We'll go with it, we'll go with it. We'll leave that till the end so you don't have to make a extra color change, because we could go ahead and put the black on there, but then you have to go back to white. And for the most part, you should try to keep the color changes to a minimum. That means you'll have less cuts, the back of your design will look cleaner, and you will be saving time. So here, odd shape, once again, we'll do a satin stitch on that one. It's getting a little bit on the smaller side. And these do not have to be exactly the same shape. So we can add a stitch angle to this, something like that. Will it do something? Maybe, maybe not. The rest of the stuff it's all gonna be satin. So let's switch it to satins. I'm already on white. Open shapes, I guess. No, I'll just make it a little bit bigger. All of these, I'm just gonna exaggerate their size a little bit. And I'll go back in a bit to change their angles. Because these are gonna be tiny. Let's see, this is 2.5. This is as big as it's gonna get. Okay, so we got something here. We're working with something. That is tiny. Let's go back at a reference. Okay, they didn't even... I'll make it a little bit bigger just to get some stitches in there. What am I missing? The hand. Okay. Probably any other design, there would be some kind of like border around it. It doesn't seem like there is one on this design, so we're gonna keep it as is. Hopefully it plays out well. It looks nice. Now we're gonna go on to the lasso. I am digitizing it now, but after I'm done with it, I'm gonna throw it to the back so it's behind his shape and not overlapping accidentally over here. That'll look a little weird, but for now, let's just go for it. Start here. There's like a bit of a gap. I don't know if that was intentional. I think I'm gonna connect it here. I'm gonna run it straight through. We'll keep that white for now. Let's try to give it some kind of shape. Something like that. We go from outline back to fill, satin. Let's change that angle so it's a bit more flush there. There we go. What you could also do is, so here we did one shape going onto the next that connects. So we go onto the stitching and remove the trim without making a cut. It directly goes onto the next thing. Same here. This connects to this piece. So this one, we'll put automatic trim off. I started off with the Brother PE 800, and I know those machines, I think most of those like smaller single needle machines won't make that cut even if when you're digitizing you put it. So just be aware, for those machines that it just goes straight onto the next shape, and then afterwards you'll be having to cut those jump stitches. All right, for now, in case we're moving things around, I'll keep in colors, and this I'm going to group it and then move it up. And now we'll be stitching the lasso first and then the old cowboy. Since his shapes are white as well, I'm gonna have to change the color of this to separate it. So this, I'll make it a beige. Now I'll go to colors again, and the beige will be number 1, and then the white up on top, looking like this. And yeah, almost there. I'm gonna make everything just a little bit thicker, these lines. That's a little better. Because they're thin as it is on screen, once it's embroidered, it gets even thinner. Yeah, you have to account for that a little bit. Looks like we're done with the guy. Okay, so this will be one version of it. We're gonna stitch this out on a flat and see how that looks, and then I'll also do it with the hose, as I mentioned, at least like 5 times already. And I'll see which was better. So I have been thinking about doing some lives where I'm digitizing. Maybe you guys could give me ideas of what to digitize, or, you know, something like that. I think that'd be pretty cool. And then it could be something interactive where you guys can let me know if something looks good or not. That'd be kind of fun. The font looks pretty basic here. I know I'm not going to find something exactly the same, but something similar. And it might be this one here. That's not too bad. As long as they come out crisp, I think we're good. I'm just going to make sure the height of the letters are the same. So about there, and then I could either squeeze it in or break the letters apart. That's fine. Or you could break apart, move them manually. I'm going to keep it this way just to move forward. I'm going to make it just a tiny bit bigger. Make sure it comes out cleaner. There we go. I'm starting to think this little piece that sticks out, it's supposed to be part of the rope there. So let's go ahead and fix that. Use the knife tool, slice that right off. What we could do is completely delete it and just make a new shape, but it's already there. So let's go ahead and change the color, put it a satin, and then change the shape. There we go. Make sure it overlaps just a little bit so we don't get a gap. There we go. That's something. These letters look kind of small, so I'm taking off the center run. Don't think it'll do much. But okay, here we have the first version of it. I think it looks pretty good. It looks decent. Now let's remove these white areas and try to make some of them into holes. I almost forgot actually what I was talking about. These little shapes in here. His one long chest hair. Put that back to black. We could keep it as a, that looks decent. It's a satin. That should look interesting. Right here, maybe these are gonna be tatamis. I'll go right back in there and change the color and all that stuff right now. The point is to get him to stop wearing his old one, start wearing this one. We have a little weirdness here. So let's go ahead and add a stitch angle like that. Let's go ahead and do that. Changing the angle, of course, also works. Getting a different shape. Not much we could do here. It's a bit more pointy over there. Let's go ahead and just, what can we do? Let's go ahead and leave it like that. This one, let's make this a little bit more pointier. Let's bring this a little bit in. We'll keep it like that. Anything else I missed? Cool. The text, let's throw it all the way down to the bottom. also make it a different color, well, as long as it's a different color as the previous one, which is black, so that you could assign its own color, or if you want to use a thinner needle, then it has its own color, its own spot on the machine. Perfect the way it is there. Let's remove these areas here. We'll keep that. All these white little spots, let's remove them. Even the eye is gonna have to go. So for sure, let's go. You select the main shape if you're gonna start digitizing hose, and then click here, digitize hose, and then you do the same as if you were doing an actual shape, solid shape. So we're good here. Like that. Let's switch it to, oh, I messed up. I did not double click. Okay, enter, enter. There we go. When you get these weird stitches in between, changing the start and stop often fixes that. Not always, but I always mess around with it a little bit, see if it helps. I honestly don't know why, like, it does or doesn't do that sometimes, but we'll do that. Okay, we got ourselves an empty chest here. Here we do not have much. So let's open this up a little bit. We'll keep it like that. It's a decent shape. It's just black in the background, so it's kind of hard to see, but we have some detail. Like my boy Bob Ross used to say, there are no mistakes, just happy accidents. So we might get something that looks really good in here. Maybe not, but we gotta try. And let's do this one here. I might just be missing one shape, possibly in the hand, and that might be it. It's okay. What else? Here we go. Got more random shapes. I'm gonna leave that. I think it leaves like a little like single stitch that you could rip out even if you do have these weird stitches. So I'm just gonna leave it. Doesn't bother me. So there we go. Let's remove the shape underneath, and that's our second version. We'll see how that goes. I feel like the first version looks a little better, but who knows. So what I'm gonna do here is center it, change my start and stop to the bottom, so it's right here, and then I'm gonna save it. I might shift the whole design a little bit to the right, so this dude and the majority of the words right here is the focus of it. We'll see once I get the stitch out. I'll put it on top of the hat and see how that's looking. I didn't change any densities. I changed a little bit in the letters. Just on the top, I took away the underlay. I might have to do the same for these small shapes. It does not need a zigzag there, so I'll do that real quick. It needs like literally nothing. It's just gonna throw the needle down for a second, pick it back up, and be done. So I'm gonna do this, get it onto the USB, and we're gonna run both designs on the same run, and then I'll show you guys and go from there. Machine is ready with the design. I have 2 sheets of 2.5 ounce Cutaway stabilizer on the Mighty Hoop. So let's go ahead and run it. Run the second one and let's take a look at it. Real quick design. I'll time lapse the second one. This is the one with the hose on it. Should be real quick, 15 minutes, running it at 670. Let's get her done. I changed the color of the lasso so it could actually show up. I didn't do the full time lapse, but here is how we're looking. Can't see that great, but show you guys the results in just 5 minutes. Here we have it, both of them. I was sure I was gonna like the one with the filled in white parts more, but no, I don't think these little areas are way too small to even make a great difference. If anything, it makes it worse. It looks pretty cluttered. I'm gonna go with this one. The only thing I'm gonna do is some of these holes, just make them bigger because they look like mistakes. They look like the thread didn't fully fill in the area. So I'm gonna make sure it's an obvious intentional hole, and also remove California. It's actually not supposed to have California because it's actually this place here. Even better, I'm not gonna have to deal with small text. I'm gonna make these changes and then we'll get to hooping of the hat and the rest of that. But that's gonna have to wait till tomorrow because it is 1:27 right now. So it's time for me to go to sleep. We'll pick this up tomorrow and get the hat done, and I'm sure it's gonna look nice. All right, we're back. So let's go ahead and finish what we started. As I mentioned, I like the one with the holes. We just got to make sure that we make those holes bigger so that they're more apparent in the hat. So this is what we're doing. I won't screen record just because it's very little what I'm going to do here, but pretty much I'm going to go ahead and edit these shapes that I made the holes on. Just make them much bigger so that they don't look like mistakes in the design, as I mentioned earlier, or yesterday. Again, shape doesn't matter that much. I'm still trying to keep overall what the shape looked like, but at this point, anything goes. This one was nice, right here by the legs. Yeah, so this video turned out more of a tatami slash digitize holes as opposed to working with satins. But we'll work on another design soon that has a little bit more of you know, fills, borders, stuff like that, or you could actually use satins much more. I'm also gonna remove California. I will have to make these two things a little bit bigger so it could match to the top of the lasso a little bit more. I could really just bring this down just in case. Bottom up, so we'll start stitching the guy from his feet. That's not it. To his head. Even though it's doing the lasso first, but that's all good. So it'll stitch bottom up. I'm gonna do this real quick and then we'll get to the hat. So interesting color choice. We're gonna go with this blue 5-panel decky, gray back, and the thread is gonna be orange. Kind of like safety orange. So that should look interesting. We're gonna use 3-ounce Cutaway stabilizer, and we're looking good to go. We're gonna do tan on the lasso, orange for the guy, and white for the text. I'm also gonna be recording this one non-stop, beginning to end. Thinking about posting that one, like I mentioned a couple videos ago, to do separate videos where I just, it's not a time lapse, straight up beginning to end, in case anybody's interested with the details of the shape that is embroidered at the time. So the tatami fill, the density, if there's any pull comp on satin, stuff like that. That might be the next video, or something that I still tweak and mess with. So I'm ready to go with this one. Let's get it. I had to stop the machine because it was looking horrendous. Look at all that. I ran the tension for that needle and it was crazy low. It was probably like around here when it should be up here somewhere. So got the tan. Right now I am just gonna go ahead and double check the orange just in case, and the white, and then we're gonna run another one. Here we go again. right, guys, we're gonna go back to the drawing board a little bit. I'm not satisfied with how they're coming out still. This one much better, but the lasso still not the best. And we had some underlay sticking out. Probably can't tell, but there's a little bit of underlay sticking out from the guy's leg where there is a really thin column with the tatami fill, and with all the underlay under there, it stuck out a little bit. It's not bad. We're gonna clean this one up to give it to him anyways. I was almost gonna just scratch the whole video, toss it, but we might as well see it through, show you guys, you know, digitizing is not always one step thing. I mess up a lot, I always say it. We'll be doing this one, which personally I think the color goes with the style and the design more. We'll change up the lasso probably to brown or make the guy brown, we'll see. But anyways, I'm gonna go screen record the changes that we're gonna do in order to fix this. First thing we're gonna start working on is the lasso. Even though it was a center run, the underlay was the stitching that was being stitched on too loosely, so it was kind of like looping. So by the time the satin came over it, the loop just stuck out, and that's what creates all these messy little specks of thread that stick out. First thing I did, remove the underlay, and I'm also gonna make the satin a little bit thicker. I'll make it thicker from here. Something like that. Everything here. This shape does not really show as anything, so let's go ahead and make that a little bit bigger. I did not think this video was gonna take this long, but it is what it is. Thank you guys for sticking through. If you have, we are 8 subs away from 1,000. That's huge. Much appreciate you guys. So for here, also, like I was mentioning, it's really thin here. The underlay sticks out. Okay, what I'm gonna do is turn this into a satin. So let's go ahead and cut that. Edit objects. Let's knife it. I could also cut this, leave it as the fill that it is, and then just remove the underlay from that piece. But let's go ahead to add some variation in there. Let's turn it into a satin. Let's make it overlap a bit. And I'm still gonna remove the underlay. That's pretty good. And there we go. We will not have any underlay there for the main guy. I don't know other areas that stick out too much, but what we could do to be safe is change it from normal to medium. And that brings in the underlay a little bit. This could solve some of your problems, but you do kind of risk your design losing some detail and sharpness to edges, because if you're running an edge run, that's kind of like what makes your edges crispy without using like satin borders. But this design is kind of like a weird one anyway, so I don't think it's gonna affect us that much. We're trying to fix what we have now. We're gonna go with it. I am gonna put the fill up just a touch. And then for this one, I didn't shift the design over. I think it's just like really huge in width that it's fine. So I'm gonna keep that the same. I had no issues with that. The rodeo, what do we have for this? A center run? I think that's fine. I was also trying to record the entire design with this one, but we don't mess with this one much. It's a good camera and all, but I couldn't get the focus and the brightness right, so I just got it out the way and just time-lapse with this one. So we'll save this idea for later. Let's get the new hat on there and run it. For this final one, we're gonna go with light brown just for the lasso, a slightly darker brown for the dude, and the words. Let's finally get it done, please. Now this we'll call ours. Much cleaner. They're almost the same shade of brown, but this one's a little bit lighter. All we would have to do is cut these jump stitches, and now hit it with some slight flame. Nothing slight about that. Wait, there we go. What a ride it's been, but we finally have something good with this design. As simple as it was, or it seemed, you know, every design has its little thing. It may be simple in one ways, but makes it difficult or challenging in another. So let me know what you guys thought of today's design and the video. I mainly just wanted to show the basic features, just the basic things that you could do in Hatch and still get a nice final result. It definitely wasn't the smoothest ride today, but that's how it is. Sometimes, like I said, I wanted to like just not even do the video, just do something else, but we stuck with it and I think it was worth it. So let me know what you guys think. Again, 8 subs away from 1K. That's crazy. Appreciate you guys, all your comments and like. We'll work on some other digitized focused designs where we get to like show more of what we could do and maybe explain a little bit better, go step by step. But that'll be in the near future. Let me know in the comments any questions or thoughts. That's it for me. Deuces.